Doroje Change Koema Nyorodo Toge Doje Shaje Redo Shinge Medo Dige Bonjamba Serge Lumbo Dabura Jibe Go Shaja Jelbe Shabla Chade Ome Jige Inge Bodondo Dozo Ganje Kinge Ransem Jigorong Dende Bo Tawe Lame Shabla Kujan Dozo Doye Lona Jelo Lüje Kinge Jadone Shingdang Eze Damjen Nongo Leja Chige Da Jinni Chiba Jonjuro 다 정말로 다시 델렉슈에단 참제도 생견 탐제제도 조배 상지 고방을 뭐지 도발죠 디치도 최인기에 냠베 삼바자제와 장교 생기군로 먼저 당내선로 지션
다시 델레 everyone please listen the dharma with a vast motivation of bodhicitta thinking that I would like to achieve the complete and perfect Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings.
Tene daring gonda shugen also de dramatic ne tene te ji call songs ero
And I would like to say sorry for being a little late tonight for some reason.
Tene da daring shue de 가장 ge motene tene sobi ge liu di re tene ma motene shue 결론 남기 대개제 퇴내 점된 내기는 툭담 지다를 제바 툭제월 공대 제발 땐도설 점된 내기 결론 남라 가젤바 케 딱바르 녀라 신도 예라 송식당 켈라 템바르 저 은 대비 갈바 체메 장메 박도메 메 삼기 미차 제게 밀랑와 대비 나르나 율와라나시 셰저와 젤보 최종 셰저 시중대 대체 율대나 장성 쇠바진 셰저 코롤로 망아자등 리낙나 내신 쇠바고모 대체나 젤보대 준모당 포장게 레당 런버를 제대리라 롤도 셰발레 내시도 녀데 심바당 녀데서 벤다 툭데 강소 당친에서 뭐다 당진에 심바당 포장레 남건도 동네 내당 매독 남 다신 송송월레 장성 쇠바젠 류 정보를 시작돼 신도 심진 두벌 통내 대라 대비 셈게데 매도 나속에 떨도 setting.
So to continue the chapter 11th, which is called the chapter of passion, and the Bhagavan said to the bhikshus, listen well and keep it in your mind. I will tell you, in the past, beyond countless eons. So there are so many Tibetan words I have to say. They almost mean the same, but since they use so many words, I have to translate them all. So first one is beyond countless eons, beyond immeasurable aeons, beyond limitless and inconceivable aeons. There was a king by the name of Kalinga in the place which is called Varanasi. At that time, a rishi is the translation of Tangsong. I mean, the Tangsong in Tibetan is the translation of rishi, Indian word, which actually means a sage, a great sage. A rishi by the name of Chantivardin, which means a rishi who practices passion. Chanti is passion in Tibetan is Zoba Chen. Zoba or Chanti, Vardin is the one who possesses passion or who practice passion, but his name was Chandi Wadin. Together with his 500 disciples, living in the mountain of that very region, and they meditate always on the passion paramita. At that time, the king, together with his queen and minister and retinues, the attendant of the palace, went to the mountain for sightseeing, or maybe for hiking. We can say the modern term. We can say for hiking. And they went to that mountain. And after a while, the king was very tired. After they started hiking, then king was very tired, so he rested, and he fell asleep when he was resting there. But the queen and her retinue keep going on hiking, attending going, and after going through beautiful area and flowers, they saw the rishi, the rishi, which is called the Chandiwadin, who was in a meditative state, both physically and mentally. Then okay, I'm done. So a little bit, I have a little bit more, and so the queen and her attendant, they saw this rishi who was in a meditative state, both physically and mentally, and then the mind of faith arose in them. That's the translation from Tibetan word, which means the queen and the attendant become very devoted, and they had great faith in the rishi. And then they offer flowers. The word is said they throw water. No, flower. Flower, which means they offer flower to the rishi.
Tene tsunmo te dak di dundu köte chöjang nyendo. Jelbo simba le sene tsunmo nam minang wadang mebana. Lenbo shidang tsunmo tselwa le tsunmo nam changsong ki dunna köba tongne. Changsong de la tige jemre son. Keche taye ki tengen zin shi tobam zem. Da shi di keche mushi insaro. Namga taye, namshi taye, jiyang mewa yume meme de shi. Keche taye ki tengen zin top yorebe se changsong de la jin. Mreba matobo, mreba ona ke tsemeba shi tobam. Ona chirang la tene tsemeshi tobi yorebe, tsemeshi tenginzin tobi yorebe imana. Matobo, mreba, ona ke samdenshi tobam. Na ona chirang samden dangba nipa sumba shibegi tenginzin di tobi yorebe. Deyang matobo, she mreba dang, jelbo töde, yunden dida kegi gangyang matobna. Kene marab tamelba yinde büme namdang wenba jabyebi nena tuba chidar yiche surung. Dagdu dina neba di ke sushik le chishik che meba dang tangsongi jelbo dela dagni dina soba gomo che mreso. Dene jelbo reldi chungde ke soba gom shena sodam mise seto she changsonggi lakba ni jede ke suyin she dina dagne soba jenno she mreso. Dene gangba jenno wenjang soba jenno she mreso. Dete namsa namba drukdo yune nyene ngaja zamyang namkhala purde Deren hangne loben dela dedabi dungel nyamsu nyongna sobe sem nyamba majur dam shemreso. Changsongge mreba 덕 셈 마주르 마냠소 셈네 바당 젤보 양왕작 네 장송 람네 그 쇠바진 임벌지 이체벌 줄 장송게 매바 다게 매비 틱 준바 마인데 된나 된바데 탁 어머 줄진 연락제바양 쇠데 엄마 코나신도 줄지 제매마 타도 탁 어머 줄네 연락장 쇠데 엄마 코나신도 줄도
And then, after becoming very devoted, the queen and the attendant of her attendant just sat in front of this rishi called the Chantivardin, and they listened Dharma from him. And after a while, the king woke up from sleep, and then he noticed that the queen was missing or absent, because queen just kept going on, and she is now with the rishi. So therefore, then the king went with another 4 ministers to search or to look for the queen. They went in the forest and more hiking. And then when the king saw the queen was right in front of the rishi, then the king asked the rishi, he says, did you achieve the state of countless ayatana samadhi, which actually means the 4 formless absorptions, which are the ayatana of infinite space, namga thai, the ayatana of infinite consciousness, namche thai, the ayatana of nothingness, and the ayatana of neither existence nor non-existence. These are the 4 formless absorptions. So the king asked the rishi, did you achieve the state of this samadhi? And the rishi said, no. He said, no. And then after that, king asked, if you have not achieved the 4 formless absorption, then have you achieved the 4 immeasurable? Then again, the king said, no. The rishi said, no. He said, no, I have not achieved them either. And then again, the king asked, have you achieved the state of 4 dhanas, which is now the form rims? It's called the first samten. Tingenzing is samadhi in Sanskrit, and samten is dhana. So in English, I don't know, maybe same, meditation or concentration, whatever you translate. Because different translators use different terms, so I'm not sure. But in Tibetan, it's always sure, because if it is samadhi in Sanskrit, we always say Tingenzing. We never say something for samadhi. And if it is dhyana in Sanskrit, we always say something. Now it is a something, which means dhyana. And then we have 4 dhyana, which are called the first dhyana, second dhyana, and third dhyana, and the 4th dhyana. These are the state of the form realms. So the king asked him again, the rishi, have you achieved the state of 4 dhanas? Then the king said, no. I mean, the rishi said, no. Then when whatever question was asked to rishi by king, then the rishi just said, no, he has nothing achieved yet. Then the king became kind of angry. And then he said, okay, if you have not received any of those qualities, then you are just an ordinary being and also a very bad man, not a good man. Okay. And then then he says, what? Then how could I trust you or believe you, being a good or a holy man, when you are staying with a woman in the solitude, and without having achieved any these kind of qualities? And then he says, the king says, who are you? Who are you? And what are you doing here? And then the rishi said to the king, he said, he says, I practice here patience. I meditate on patience. Then the king said, okay, I will check it out whether you are really practicing patience or not. Then he just took out his sword and then now I am going to examine you or check it out whether you are really practicing patience or not. Then he cut off his two hands. And then after the king cut off the two hands of the rishi, then he asked, who are you? Then he said, I'm Chandi Wadin, which means I'm one who practices patience. Then after that, he said, he cut off his two legs again. Then the king asked the rishi, who are you now? He still says, I'm Chandi Wadin, which means I'm the one who practices patience. And then, at that time, then all the earth and the space shook 6 times, tremble or shook, shaking shook, right? I have to think about the grammar. Shook, the past tense, okay? Past tense of the shaking. Shook 6 times. And then at the same time, about 500 disciples or students came flying from the sky, came to him, and then they asked this rishi, who is their master. He says, Master, when you are having so much suffering, has your mind or passion declined? Then the rishi said, no. My mind has never been changed, and then it has never been declined. And the king become kind of frightened a little bit. And then the king asked the rishi again, how can I trust you being a Chandi Wadin? Which means, how can I trust you being a genuine patient practitioner? Then at that time, when king said that, the rishi said, what I have said was not a lie. The word I have spoken was not a lie, not a false. They are truth. If they are truth, by the power of that truth, may the blood turn into milk, and may all my limbs that has been cut up revive and become exactly like it was before. And when the rishi said this, and then all the blood that was there turned into milk, become milk, no more blood, and all his limbs, the feet and hands that has been cut off by the king, revive and become exactly like earlier before. Connection to Gurdo. Lasso.
Kelbe Tetar Sobadang Tenbar Tongne Hagwar Jigdak de Dog Chi Leto Tangson Chembola Nebaki Dog Tokzewar Conde Chesan Jawar Nongshi Je Soldo Tenes Mala Sobashir Chisen Shapashin Tangson Gemneba Kenny Bumegi Chiri Chun Tongne Dagi Yenla Che Meki Dagi Sobane Sadang Jawa Da Juromeva insert say insert Sobadi Juromeva Sadang Jawe Chi Ngunbar Sangjebana Sherab Gereldi Kegi Jula Yubi Duksum Jebar Shokchi Chi Malam Zebare Samreso then there's an Melam Chamnang De Tena Ridi Hadang Then Lu Namgi Tangzong de la Jelbo de jelbo de 최신 뇌바 제바 통내 다 제본 미마인다 릴 하던 저일 하디 저게다 제보디 세야기 답신 뇌바 제다 최신 뇌바 제바 통내 소소네 최대 진dü네 안래 최신 뇌바 jel부 장성될 최신 최와당 뇌바 제바 통내 되는 real hadang lula soba so trade tin dune drug dang drug dawadang serwa dang namjak phapde jelbo khordang cheba separar cheba le setup cheba chebe kabla tangsong gi ke ngai chiri de da be ne ba dang chewa majeji chego da cherang de nge chedo de ne ba maji chebalande ne ba maji sene da ri la dang lu de zo la kanang ban jelbo de der je sang je ne zhang song de dao du pa zhang du jian zhang de che ba je zo dene jelbo de che ba ge ne xia ba pu la den dene dao du pa zhang nang la den den shu de yo de zen na lo ben xian la xu lo ben xian la shu ba gun du ju dong zam xi zhang song se ba jian la jelbo de jing me ba tong ne chak do ge de den ba minang wi ne ne sa du lang zok jing me wi ba gi zhang song de la do do se yang de zen na lo ben xian la shu da lo ben xian da gi lo ma zhang song gun du ju dong zam xi yo se le di zu de jelbo de zhang song sui ba jian la dene deba ge ne po zhang ne dene yang yang dene shu de dene xian da de chao do ge wa le zhe chao do shen ge de den ba min na wei san ne dene sa dang dul zhou ba dene mong bo dene zhang song de la dor ge yo se de la dor do de chen na gun du ju nga la se dor wa 자탁 주보 되니 다 사토르긴 군두주 마가긴 자탁 주요는 동 다다를 다다르기 추 여송 라속베 개롱 자탁 주인데 대테나 이담 제네 덕서버 곰바 준미체바디 남건바를 상제바나 뒤지 추 ke기 둘랑 팀마 뛰데 대비 쪽바 용서 다고라 쇼지 제 담제소 담제 디가블 담제 말람 제바레
And seeing what just happened, the king became more frightened. That which means when the truth was expressed by the rishi, all his cut off limbs become revived and all the blood turned into milk and so forth. Seeing this, and then the king become more frightened, more afraid, and then he said, for what reason I harm this great rishi? With your great compassion, please give me a chance to confess. And then when king said that, the rishi said, because the woman, because the queen, because king was kind of angry, because the woman, you took out your weapon and you cut off my limbs. Somehow, my patience is like a earth, which means unshakable, no matter what happened. And then the rishi actually made a very profound aspiration at this point. The rishi said, when I become a perfect Buddha in the future with a sword, okay, sword, S-W-O-R-D, sword. My pronunciation is not very good. So to make sure that you understand, I spell it out. with my sword of wisdom, cut all your three poisons. So this is what he met the aspiration. He says, in the future, when I become a Buddha, may by the sword of my wisdom cut your three poison. And at that time, all the local Nagas and local gods that reside at that particular mountain become very angry, seeing that the king was harming this great rishi. So they try to kill the king by making a big hailstorm and then lightning, and then I think this is a thunderbolt, right? Thunderbolt. In Tibetan we says bringing down the sky iron. This is a Tibetan. Nam jak pop. Nam is sky, jak is iron, pop is bringing down, which is a thunderbolt. Talk. Sometimes we say talk is same. Lightning is do. We also have do. Different. Lightning is just lightning. Namcha is actually coming down the lightning and killing people like that. So I think there is a word called thunderbolt, right? Thunderbolt. Yeah, thunderbolt is namcha, I think, and drug is lightning. Okay, because there's different word in Tibetan. We have three words: sera, namcha, and drug. So I translate hailstorm, sera, drug is lightning, and drug actually means dragon. But in this sentence, it means lightning. And Namcha is the thunderbolt. So all the local deities or local god and nagas that reside in that particular mountain, I think they are very devoted to the rishi. And because they witnessed that king was harming the rishi, they want to kill the king by making this terrible weather. But somehow, not only king together with his all entourages or retinues. And then the rishi said to these nagas and local deities, says, the rishi said, because of me, or on behalf of me, don't do this kind of harming to these people. So the Drangsong, the rishi, stopped the local naga and local gods harming the king and his retinues. And then the king confessed for what he has done, his wrongdoing, and then the king become devoted to this particular rishi, and he from time to time he said always takdu. He always invite the rishi into his palace, and then he make offering to this rishi. Now the rishi become kind of his guru. But at that very time, there was many other mendicant. In Tibetan is kuntu-gyu. Kuntu-gyu literally means always wandering, not staying in same place, but it is actually ascetic or mendicant. And this word in Sanskrit is parivrajaka. If you look this, you can get in Google. Parivrajaka. The kuntu-gyu is the translation of parivrajaka, Sanskrit word, which actually literally means wandering all the time. But it means the ascetic or the mendicant or religious practitioner. So at that time, when this particular rishi called Chandi Wadin was venerated and devoted by the king, then other about 1,000 kuntu-gyu or 1,000 parivrajaka or ascetic or mendicant who are a follower of another master become jealous, because jealous to this particular rishi, and when they saw this rishi Chandi Wadin is being invited to the palace and being venerated by the king, then other about 1,000 mendicants become very jealous, and they threw very dirty dust to this particular rishi out of their jealousy. And then and then now Buddha is saying, because this now go to the very beginning of this chapter. Buddha says, those about 1,000 people, 1,000 parivrajaka who threw dirty dust to me are actually now these people who are called the Nati Kashyapa and his 1,000 brothers. They say, because Buddha said, because at that time when they were throwing me the dirty dust, I actually have a commitment saying that by the power of my continual, uninterrupted practice on passion, when I become a perfect Buddha in the future, may the water of my Amrita wash their defilement. And may all their defilement of desire be completely purified. This is what I met, the commitment and also the aspiration at that time. Tamcheso, Rasona.
Tamcheso. Kelong Dog. De tena tangsong seba jen de shebar dena shendo masem shi dene tada nga yino chelbo zhejung dang lembo shi ni guan jie na la so we gelong nga de da kor nga de samba de yin de ze seba gomba na dida gi den nga ra jeso di tena seba gomne malam tabala dene tanda 통말 되는 뒤쪽에 된제 바래 셰담 제배응은 말 상제네 응아르 디덕 동엘의 용수 절와를 제동 개롱남 상제기 송발러 제소 예랑네 응말 가오 수빌레데 죽직바오
아소 칼링가 가우리아나 아소. Now we are at the very end of the chapter. Now the Buddha said to the bhikshus who are listening this history at that time, Buddha said, bhikshus, if you want to know who that particular rishi, the Chandivardhan was, then don't think anyone else because it was me. Buddha said, it was me. Shentu masamshik means don't think else. Then I was that man, that wonderful man. I'm just kidding, okay? Gyalpo sunchung da lompo shini koti yana la saba gyalonga deino. And at the very beginning of this chapter is mentioned the King Kalinga. So the King Kalinga and his men for minister were actually now these 5 bhikshus who received the first teaching of me, who such as Kodiyana and so forth. So 5 students. They say not only now, even at that time, by practicing on patience, I did benefit for them. And now after I become perfect Buddha, I help them getting completely liberation from suffering. And all the bhikshus become extremely happy and overwhelmed by joy and rejoiced what Buddha just taught. And this is the 11th chapter of the sutra called the Sutra of Wise and Foolish, and this is the chapter of passion.
Tene da Liu Chukchik Sarwan, Chikchina Tender Yabojong, Dangazo Sa Chukchik Gundo, Sa Toba, Mebaje, Di Tender Jene, Tene Negabjik de la Tamshane, Dananing Shining Logi, Tene Julamegi, Haktre, Tete Share Yore, Liu Gonzo, at the money. Di da di 참네 다 다와 제마데라 되네 강소 레림데라 줄라멜 하트데마 슈도 바체게
다 지만 한다 숨나가 주여 말이라 안 된다 숨나가 주여 말이야 teaching. So I think I will stop here teaching on this sutra because we have just completed the 11th chapter, which is a very good auspicious interdependence temper, because it symbolizes that we will achieve the 11th bhumi, which is the bhumi of Buddhahood, called the Kundu, which means radiant everywhere, and then next month in November we don't have teaching for the first three Saturdays. Probably we have on 27th November. But anyway, whenever we have again class, I'm going to continue on Uttara Tantra Shastra that I have taught 2 years ago, and I haven't completed that yet. So I'm going to continue from there. Lasso. Okay, that's all for tonight, and we do this practice quickly because time is over. It's already 9:08. Lasso, that did you do? Manam Guadanya Besanje, Danje, Lama, Sangye, Rimbo, Jala, Jozo, Sangye, Jadang, Lama, Jozo, Lama, Yedan, Kando, Sola, Jozo, Ramsen, Donza, Jige, Kola, Jozo, Manam Guadanya Besanje, Danje, Lama, Sangye, Rimbo, Jala, Jozo, Sangye, Jadang, Lama, Jozo, Lama, Yedan, Kando, Sola, Jozo, Lama Jige Kola Jozo Manam Kadanya Besanje Namje Lama Sangye Rimbo Jala Jozo Sangye Jedang Gede Namla Jozo Lama Yedang Kando Sola Jozo Ramsen Donza Jige Kola Jozo Oman Bem 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 Oman Omane beme awale da lo boragele yowaye tenane da jobe zewa so serje ye me devene nam jide kanzo joya mai joje Chedar Sheme Tebe Zejaye Keje Jela Leze Dojebe Soro Nege Doe Maje Yeba Chede Kanzo Jora Majoreje Cheda Jede Kayanan Zebayada Nege Meza Tebe Dajebe Nije Bayada Tabe Rezoyge
Luji Gula Nebara Mai Joraji Nebegere Don Raji Joda Lobra Yedro Son Jadro Joda Shija Daji Nela Dobai Luji Gula Tevara Mai Joraji Luzende Waya Mai Lundrojebe Joji Trobe Dongai Jinyeba Malushe Jeda Dode Maeda Terene Dege Dembarajo Lama Gojo Soye Dojeda Kandoje Jo Somene Dorda Lede Loa Mebede Logi Moamala Dazendro Barajo Lama Gojo Soye Dojeda Kandoje Jo Somene Dorda Lede Loa Mebede Logi Moamala Dazendro Barajo Lama Gojo Sangye Dojeda Kandoje Jo Somene Dorda Lede Loa Mebede Logi Moamala Dazendro Barajo.
Long life prayer for His Holiness and our usual dedication and Triship prayer, the auspicious verses. Oi Jagai Nijera Soy Karma Jagai Jene Jede Karma Jagai Donga Wangora Karma Ojen Rode Jene Jade Soy Sije Panjara Mane Joe Je Tobe Dema Yore Neba Tenzin Jebe Geba Damana Panjara Geje Yore Jade Soy Chungai Chemba Dayene Donga Sanje Targe Shokaba Jawa Samye Doche Deye Shojaran Sonam Deye Tamje Sikwanye Tomne Nyebe Rana Tamje Nekeba Naje Balon Sibe Dole Ro Ro Jamba Bawa Jidar Kemba Da Kondo Samba Dea Dejende Deda Wenge Jagon Kewa Deda Danje Rodong Sangye Kozanye Bejalan Da Chenye Mejora Demejalan Gende Meje Demejalan Geje Darango Amalan Rombarayo Deje Leje Jore Dene Karmaya Mande Dembe Nyemon Chodara Gunjoy Jalje Jemeje Tawaram Pere Traje
Good night.
Jana. When he Khenpo speak English,